Welcome to my podcast, Today's Dream, Tomorrow's Reality. My name is Vicki Poole. I'm a master transformational coach and hypnotist specializing in habit change. And this podcast is sponsored by the Enlightened Peach. And it's all about embracing our mosaic life. And some of you may ask, what is a mosaic life anyway? Well, it is recognizing that all the pieces of our life, the good, the bad, the indifferent, have all come together to make us who we are. Change any one thing, and we are different. With that in mind, I invite you to embrace your perceived imperfections and celebrate who you are. This podcast is unedited and raw, just like life. And I am your host, and I have a special guest today. I can't wait to bring her out and talk to her. But before I do, I want to ask you to do me a solid. I would love for you to make a comment, put a comment on this episode. And not only that, remember to like, subscribe, and share, because the only way that I can get all my amazing guests, information, and stories out to the world at a greater extent is with your help. So please leave a comment and remember to like, subscribe, and share. And with that, now let's get started. So before I bring her out real quick, I will tell you her name is Marguerite, but I know some people it's Margarita, so we'll ask when she gets out. But the way I know her is that she has an amazing group, a Facebook group, and then she has a YouTube channel that I used to go to all the time and peruse her videos. She's a tapping expert. And those of you who don't know what tapping is, I mean, it's an amazing, amazing modality for helping you. And I'll let her explain it better because explain it to you because I'm sure she does that better than I do. But I love tapping and the difference that it can make in your life. And I have loved it so long. When I came across her on YouTube, it was like, oh, I love this woman. I have got to do all this stuff. So with that, I will bring her out and let you meet her. Hello. Is it Marguerite
Hi,
or Margarita?
Marguerita.
Margarita.
Marguerita.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I am humbled by that incredibly generous introduction. So thank you very, very much. It's
My
wonderful to be
pleasure.
here.
Pardon?
It's wonderful to be here.
Wonderful to have you. And the time you're here is like, is it you're a day behind me or a day ahead of me?
We're ahead of you. So it's
Okay.
9:00 the next day here.
Yeah.
So
So you're in the future. I know. I always love that. It's like, oh my gosh, time is definitely kind of a bizarre thing when you think about it, right?
Well, time is a human construct. And what's
Yes.
really funny about that is that right before COVID hit, I actually flew to the United States to do an interview in the United States. And I arrived before I left. Wrap your head around that.
That is wild. Oh, I love it.
That
I
is a
love
bit
it.
wild. I actually
Yeah.
arrived before I left, and it's a long flight. It is a super long flight from here to the United States. And then, of course, I lost a day on the way home. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like time is it's a mind bender.
Yeah, it
Yes.
is. It is. It is. So if you don't mind, go ahead and tell people what tapping is and a little bit about you, and then we'll just get into, because only thing I know about you is your business stuff. So I'm just really intrigued wanting to get to know you personally. So yeah, go ahead and do that intro if you don't mind.
Okay, so there's definitely a lot more to me than the business stuff and the tapping, but fundamentally, the primary technique that I do work with is emotional freedom technique, tapping, EFT, and it's incredibly powerful. It works with the meridian points of the body, so the acupressure points of the body, and when you focus on what they call a target. So it could be a trauma, it could be physical pain, emotional pain, it could be a subconscious block. They say try it on anything. You actually you have the ability with tapping to release the emotional and energetic attachment. So what you're doing is stimulating the meridian points, the energy centers of the body, because everything is energy, including our thoughts, our beliefs, our pain, our trauma. It's all energy. And if it gets trapped in the body, then it causes all sorts of impacts and effects on us physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. So while we can't, or we haven't figured out at this point how to actually alter our past, we have the ability to release emotional attachment to our past. So when we release emotional attachment to our past, we can actually heal ourselves physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. We can alter our subconscious beliefs. We can change our behaviors. We can transform into a new version of ourselves super quick. The key is to find the right target. So the key is to find what is the block, what is the fear, what is the doubt. And that's where, as a mindset coach, that is my passion. It is the core of my work. And what I love to do is find out what is that thing that is holding somebody back. So yes, beyond that, I do business strategy. I love business. And as well as that, I am a light worker. So I do sound healing. So
I think I heard some of your sound healing stuff. Yeah.
So another part of actually the primary reason I'm here on the planet is to do my light work. So all this other stuff is kind of like is beautiful and I love it. But because we are making a huge transition on the planet right now, a lot of my work is to do with working with the light and consciousness and energy shifting and all the rest of it. So I trained for many years as an opera singer, and then that morphed into me being a channel and doing light language sound healing. So that's a big part of my work as well.
Yeah. Well, I love that and I hadn't even remembered about the singing until you mentioned that, because I did listen to some of your singing. It's beautiful. I have a friend that does light language, and it's always fascinating to me. I met her. We were at a spiritual retreat in Sedona, Arizona, and that's where I met her. And it was amazing to see her. So, like, suddenly we were going to go hiking in one of these really large energy centers, in Sedona. And she starts to get out of the car and she said, I can't get out. And she just sat back in the car, and she said she was getting these downloads of light language and stuff like that. And she said, I can't get out of the car. I got to stay right here. So we just kind of huddled around until she was finished with whatever. And then it was like, okay. And then we went on about our way. But she was even crying on part of it because it was just so beautiful. And so it's fascinating stuff. I don't get those downloads.
I think to a certain extent, we all have the capacity to receive that interdimensional information, or I mean, I'm not the person who can really explain it to you in great detail. I went on this crazy journey where I discovered this gift. I tried to run away from it for a long time because
So how did you discover it?
Oh, I did not want to be that freaky woo-woo chick. I never aligned myself as that freaky woo-woo person. It was such an interesting kind of time in my life, because I think I'd only just discovered tapping at that time. It was quite a few years ago. And I was hanging out with these people who were very spiritual, and they were hugging trees and doing all that kind of stuff. And I was like, that's cool. I love that you do that. Just don't expect me to go there, Like,
hey, I love a good tree hugging adventure.
Yeah, absolutely. But, I'm not into that. That's not my thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, one of my friends was, she was going to this thing called a mystery school. And I was like, I had no idea what a mystery school is. It's still a mystery to me what a mystery school actually is. But she went to this thing, and I went, oh, okay, well, it's right near my home. So my husband and I went there. And at the end of the night, I didn't even really know why I was there. I was like, oh, it's kind of cool hanging out with these spiritual people who are all like a bit woo-woo and a bit weird. And they were all lovely people. So it was a nice night. But at the last part of the night, there was a lady who sat down to talk to us, and she started talking to light language. I've never heard of light language, had no idea it existed. And all of a sudden, my body just started to vibrate. It was like, wow, what the hell is going on right now? Like, this is just like beam me up Scotty stuff. And anyway, my husband's sitting next to me, poking me in the ribs, going, you know how you talk in your sleep? And I went, yeah. He said, that's the language that you talk in your sleep. And quite
Oh my
often previously,
gosh.
he would say to me in the morning, you've been speaking that weird language again. And I'm like, what? You know, because my father was multilingual. He spoke Russian, he spoke Chinese, he spoke French. And I thought, well, maybe I heard him speaking those languages, and maybe I'm speaking those languages just by, osmosis or something. No, it turns out I was speaking light language. So that took me down this huge rabbit hole that I tried to climb out of on multiple occasions, but it just chased me down. So I eventually had to accept that I am this weird woo-woo chick and just deal with it. So yeah, that's me.
Well, I think it's amazing to be that weird woo-woo chick.
I'm okay with it now.
Yeah.
It was just like, 15 years ago, I was like, oh my God, they're going to come and put me in a straitjacket and lock me up. This is not normal.
Well, at least it's not before where you would have been burned at the stake, At least it was different.
There's all that past lifetime stuff where so many of us as light workers were persecuted and tortured, and there's general like subconscious fears around that stuff. So I don't have that so much now. I think I don't know that it's relevant. I think that happened and it's a part of my past, but I don't believe it's relevant for this time right now. Although I do protect myself energetically. So there are things called psychic attacks and all that kind of crazy stuff that happens.
Well,
it's
that
a weird
can happen.
world.
That can happen just from coaching, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because like I'm a transformational coach and a hypnotist, and I do this prayer protection before I get on any call, and it's even on Zoom now. So I don't do any in person anymore. Since COVID, that all stopped, and so I'm good with that. But it still translates energetically to where I've had a few people that it was like, oh my God, after I'd finished, it was like, I was so drained and just having this like a dark cloud, and I would have to go and go outside and stand in the grass. And then I have I'm not really good with the stones, but the one that's for the clearing, the clear stone it's a cylinder kind of thing. I don't know.
Oh, like a wand? Is it?
Yeah.
Is it crystal, quartz crystal, clear quartz crystal?
Maybe that's what it is. I don't know.
There's another one called silica, I think.
That's it. I think it's silica. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Whichever, but I have a long one and then I have a shorter one, and I will try to do all that to kind of get myself out of that space. But you know what somebody told me is, because I don't know if you have this experience too, because you're a mindset coach and doing the tapping and the light language and everything. But even when I have an amazingly good session and they get this wonderful movement and all that stuff, that energy will get into me too. So then I can't sleep. I can't, so I have to ground after everything, because it's like, because I thought, it felt good and it was okay. And one of my friends said, it's still not your energy. Get rid of it. Like, oh, okay.
Exactly. Yeah, it's important. And particularly as, you're probably an empath as well. As empaths, we tend to take on just about everything. And it's a gift, but it's also a curse. So being able to have those processes where we can clear ourselves energetically is so important. I actually saw a video the other day of somebody doing this dry bathing. Have you ever seen that?
Where you do the brush?
Well, no, this is so cool. So this girl, she stood there, and I've got to remember it now that I've told you about it. Okay, so she goes, she wipes herself right to left to right.
I've seen that.
Right to left, and then arms 3 times, and then she cuts the cords. And
I hadn't seen that part of it. I've seen the other, where it's like you're just brushing it off.
But she specifically did it 3 times and said it was mind, body, spirit.
Okay.
So And she said, you can do it anytime after you've been. Like, I can't stand going to shopping centers and crowded places. They just, ugh, I walk out just feeling like everybody's energy all over me. So having processes like that's really cool to be able
Yeah.
to just, because we are all energetic beings. We are all connected in this soup of energy. And if you have a propensity to take on other people's energy, then that can be extremely detrimental. Okay, I've got a really fun story for you about a coach that I had once. And I showed up to her many years ago, and I just walked in and she went, oh, how are you doing? And I went, oh my God, I am just exhausted and I don't know why. I just want to curl up and just sleep for a week. And at the time, I was still doing personal training. And she said, she didn't really know me I wasn't in that sort of spiritual space at that time, by that point. But she said, do you want to tell me what the problem is? Want me to tell you what the problem is? I went, yeah, please do. Why? What? She went, you've got all these entities attached to you that are just sucking your energy out of you. And I went, beg your pardon? I've got what? We're doing what? She said, because I am a bright light, and because I was working in the gym and there's all these bodies jumping around doing stuff, these because we live with like these energetic parasites, and they attach themselves to us, and they would see me as this bright light and go, oh, energy source. So I had to clear myself. Every time I left the gym, I had to clear myself, and she gave me a process to be able to do that. But she just literally said, there are all these things attached to you that are just sucking the life out of you. I was like, holy crap. How many of us are wandering around with these energetic parasites? So, So, and within 10, 15 minutes of her doing the process with me, I started to get my energy back. I felt so much lighter. The brain fog cleared. It was incredible. So, being aware of this, being aware of these multidimensional existence that we're in, bless you, being aware of this multidimensional existence that we're in and how to cope with these other things that really do impact us on such a visceral level and impact us physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. So, this is a tough gig, man.
Yeah.
So
well,
I don't know as you knew what we were signing up for.
Yeah. Well, as you're sharing that story, when I really started being aware that I needed to do some of this, because when I was in coaching school, one of my instructors, she said that she would put a bowl of water with salt in it on the floor beside her, and that would help to disperse some of the energy into that bowl. So I thought, okay, well, that just sounds kind of woo-woo, but okay. So I never did it, at the time. And so when for the first time in my life, I had a client that it was like one session. She's the only person, and I doubt she'd ever watch this, and she may not even realize it's her. So I can go ahead and say this, but she's the only person I didn't give any invitation for anything afterwards. I just said, thank you very much. And I sent her an email that said, here is somebody that might work with you, because it was such a dense, dark energy that just in the working with her, I could just feel it pulling me down, and I felt like I had this weight on my head that was just shrinking me as I was working, and I finished the session. But then afterwards, I have a friend she's a Reiki master, and I reached out to her and I said, I've never had this experience before. I said, I don't know what to do. And she said, oh, Vicki, she said, I can feel right here that you've got all this negative energies that she's put on you, and they've just attached themselves to you. And so she gave me all these different processes to do. And after that, I started putting the bowl of water at my feet and having the wand and the different things. And that's when I really started going into the prayer for protection before I get on a call. And because you don't know, before you get on the call, what the energy is. And they can be a perfectly good person. It doesn't mean they're a bad person, but it was like, I knew I could not handle working with her ever again. It just was not
Yeah.
going to work, you know? And so that was, like I said, was the most bizarre thing I'd ever felt in my life. And it was like, if it had been the first person that I ever worked with, I probably wouldn't have continued to be a coach. It was
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
strong, you
That would have
know?
been just too intense. And there
Yeah.
are a lot of people who have these attachments, unfortunately, and they're not even aware of it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's powerful
Yeah.
work.
Yeah, it is. So tell me a little bit more, because you said that there's so much more about you than just the tapping. And that's the thing that I'm the most familiar with. I know a little bit about your music and the tapping. So kind of take me back, because I'm just really, really curious about your childhood. You know, what kind of, you
Oh,
said you didn't want to be woo woo or anything like that. So what was going
wow.
on back then? Were you
Look,
religious group or not?
yeah.
What?
Well, my I had a very boring childhood, nothing notable
Good
at
for
all.
you.
Which, yeah, I was very fortunate. I grew up with mom and dad in the house,
Uh-huh.
back in the day when that was still a thing. And I was very blessed because I was the fourth child
Mm-hmm.
so I was the youngest. And my father was, he had his own business. So he had kind of pulled himself up and built this business up. So I was very fortunate that my parents weren't wealthy, but they had gotten to the point where they were well off. So
Okay.
I got pretty much a lot of the stuff that a lot of kids don't get. Like, I had horses, I rode horses, and we lived in a place where that was actually not that abnormal where I lived.
Mm-hmm.
But I grew up riding horses for many
So where
years.
did you grow up? Are you near
Ah,
where you grew up?
yeah. Well, we the state of Queensland in Australia, and there's a
Okay.
little place called Bundaberg, which is not a few hours from where we are now. But Bundaberg, the way people know Bundaberg internationally is through Bundaberg rum. So Bundaberg rum is
Okay.
internationally renowned. So that's where I grew up. Amongst the cane fields. So I used to ride my horses, around the cane fields and do all that kind of stuff. So I had a great childhood, but it wasn't, there was nothing remarkable about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But my mum was Catholic, so
Mm-hmm.
I always went to church. And even after I left home, I went to church for several years. And I knew it didn't resonate with me, but it was like, well, I don't know what else. Like, it was my thing.
Yeah, this is what
And
you're
then,
supposed to do, kind of thing.
well, that's right,
Yeah.
and I have a faith. So when I discovered the spirituality stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and I realized that I didn't have to be in an indoctrinated environment. I don't think there's anything wrong with religion. I just think that there's an indoctrination piece that just really didn't resonate with me. And I can have my own direct connection with source, with God, with the universe, with spirit, with the divine, with whatever it is that higher power and that higher entity. I don't need a priest to intermediate, sort of
Right.
be
Yeah.
the intermediary for me. I don't need to go to confession every 3 months to declare all my worldly sins because I'm such a bad person.
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
have to go to church on Sundays.
yeah, I was raised Baptist, so we didn't do that, but we could condemn ourselves like no other,
Right?
Yeah.
The guilt.
Yes,
It's like,
but
oh my God.
and I'm not saying anything bad about churches, nothing at all. So I don't want anybody saying anything about it. However, I will say I've met the most unchristian people I've ever met in church, because it's like people that are trying to look good and look like they're living right go to church, so that not everybody,
No, no, no,
but
no.
a lot of people go for the how everybody perceives them if they're in church all the time.
And
And
that was
so
that was the thing when I was a kid.
yeah,
It was kind of like you live however the hell you want and do whatever the hell you want all week, but I go to church on Sundays, so I'm good.
yeah, that's all right, that's all right.
And yes, that wasn't everybody. There were some really good people that we knew from church, beautiful people from church. I mean, my husband and I got married in a Catholic church. So I have nothing against the church.
Right.
It just didn't resonate with me. I sort of evolved to a point where, but I believe in God.
Mm-hmm.
I have a strong sense of faith in, um, but as I said, God, source, spirit, universe, the divine, my connection to that higher entity. But I think it's important to have a sense of faith in something,
Right.
in some higher power. Otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah. Yeah.
What is the point of enduring what we endure on this planet? Because it is a tough gig. Even though I've had a very blessed life, this is still not an easy gig, being a spirit in this body that is so contained, when we are such expansive beings,
Yeah.
eternal beings, to kind of constrain us in these bodies where we experience physical pain, mental pain, emotional pain, trauma. We bump up against so many different negative experiences. I mean, it is what it is. Everything just is what it is. But painful experiences. There's a lot of pain that is endured on this planet. So I am very much an advocate of, we are the co-creators of our universe. We are the co-creators of our world, but we are also interacting with all these other co-creators. Unless you
Mm-hmm.
want to, isolate yourself on an island somewhere, it's inevitable that you are bumping up against all these other co-creators that are intermingling in your world. So, and some of the experiences that we have are not that great.
Right.
And we have to deal with that crap while we're here,
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's being centered and in a place where, I love Byron Katie's work. She is amazing. That loving what is, that it is your thoughts that create your pain. And that statement that pain is inevitable, suffering is optional.
Right.
So life is what it is. Sometimes it hands you lemons. You have to find a way to make lemonade. That's just the
Right.
way it is.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes shit happens. Sometimes bad shit happens. And, whether it's karma, whether it's destiny, whether it's the life that we chose when we got here, I don't actually know the answer to that. But it's the way we deal with it that is important.
Right. I
Anyway.
agree. And so the thing is, like with my podcast, I started this podcast just so that I would have a voice, and so it started out with just me talking, right? And for some reason, saw somebody in a group and I thought, oh my gosh, that sounds like an amazing story. And I reached out to them to be on my podcast. And that's how what it is now started, because I started finding out that people have extraordinary stories and ideas. And the thing that has been really paramount in a lot of people's stories is that some kind of catastrophe happens to them, and then they get through it, they change the way they're doing things, and then when they're meeting with me, they say that's the best thing that ever happened to them because it changed the trajectory of their life. And so that's how I like to look at anything that comes up, is that, okay, obviously this is not the path I'm supposed to be on. Let me see, where's it supposed to take me now? And so I think, like you were saying, it's like it's all optional, if you let it derail you, and which doesn't mean you don't get derailed for a minute. We're all human, right? But it's taking that moment to step away and say, wait a minute, what's the lesson in this? Where do I need to go now? And it's such a beautiful thing that I've seen the human spirit and the capacity of people to recreate themselves when something happens that just blows them out of the water. And then they've created this amazing a life and story that they can share and help other people with. I'm just blown away all the time with the amazing things that people share and why they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah. And that's complex, because I think for myself, there was no real one major event. It's kind
Mm-hmm.
of been like an accumulation of lots of little events.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know that this is it's a bit like that, going to that mystery school thing, and all of a sudden, being told that, I have this gift of light language, and then I'm a master sound hearer. It's like, wait a minute. Yesterday, I was just your average person doing your average shit.
Yeah.
Like just going about my business. And now I'm what? Like, how does that work? So I think there are major turning points, and that we have a destiny, and we can either fight that destiny or we can roll with it. And at some point, if it's a bit like I was speaking this light language in my sleep, and I think at some point the entities, the beings just went, oh my God, seriously, she's just not getting it.
Get her to that damn school.
Do we have to do to wake this chick up? Because she's seriously like,
yeah.
And that's when they put me in that place. It was kind of like I was divinely guided to be there that specific night and hear my Anya speak light language and have all the other stuff happen. So, I think we can fight it or we can go with it. And I think the more we learn to go with it and to roll with the punches, the less resistance we offer to what is, the easier
the smaller the catastrophe has to be.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think I watch people as they resist change and they doggedly stay in their crappy lives, in their crappy jobs, and they're unhappy AF, but they're kind of like, well, I don't know what else to do, so I'll just keep doing this. And because they're so unhappy and their spirit is going, something has to change, and this person isn't seeking change, so that the subconscious mind or the universe or something will orchestrate change. And I sort of say that, when you'll get a tap on the shoulder, not a physical tap, but you'll get a tap on the shoulder, hey, and a whisper in the ear. Now, if you're not paying attention, next it'll be a kind of like a, hey, slap in the back. And if you're still not paying attention, then it'll be like slap in the face. And if you're still not paying attention, then it'll be a big bit of 4B2 to the back of the head. So pay attention, be aware, notice the signs, get used to noticing what the universe is telling you. Get clear on what path, what life it is that you want to experience on this planet, because there are a gazillion different choices that you have. And then work with the universe, work with God, work with spirit, and go, okay, direct me, guide me. And I'm not saying that you're going to avoid all the pitfalls. There will still be challenges. This life is full of challenges. But those challenges are basically the universe going, come on, girlfriend. I know you've got more. Come on, I know you've got more. You've got so much within you, and I want to bring that out of you. So I'm going to just chuck this in your pathway and give you a bit of a nudge to make you better. Every single challenge that we face, every problem that we overcome makes us better. And as long as we are always striving to be better, and we are on this evolutionary course of growth and expansion, because our soul yearns for the expansion. We live in an expansive universe. Our spirits are expansive beings. If we're not seeking expansion and growth, then something's going to happen to create that for us. And I kind of say that it doesn't mean that you're going to avoid really bad stuff happening, but I kind of say that if you want to, what's that saying? That the best way to predict the future is to create it. So you choose. If you don't choose, the universe will choose for you. And it's highly unlikely the universe is going to choose something better than you would choose for yourself.
Right. And something that it might be something a little more painful too. Like you were saying, about the whisper. That's what I tell my clients too. It'll be a little whisper, a little nudge. And if you don't start listening, it'll be a baseball bat, because that's when you get that awful diagnosis from the doctor, and then you decide, okay, life's too short. I can't do this like this anymore. And, and unfortunately, it happens to so many people that it's like when you become aware, it's like you catch those whispers real quick. You might not act on them immediately, but you get them quick. And I like to refer to there's a story about Prince that I I love. And it was like he was in his hotel room one night, and in the middle of the night, he calls his manager and he says, "I've got this great idea for this show." No, that it was Michael Jackson that was
Right.
that said he called his manager, and the manager said, "Why are you calling me at 2 o'clock in the morning?" He said, "Because Prince is sleeping right down the hall in this hotel, and if I don't get this in my books that this is me, he's going to take it." And it's kind of like, I feel that that's the way the things that come to us, the ideas and the epiphanies, and oh, that sounds good, let me do that. And if we don't take some kind of action on it, it goes on over to somebody else for them to take action. That's why when we really need something in our life, we'll say, "Oh my God, I should invent something that does this," and we don't do it. And then a few months later, we see somebody else invented it. It's like
And
you
they're
had the
making
opportunity.
billions of dollars.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I don't know how many things I've saw and I thought, "Oh man, I thought of that years ago."
Yeah, there are
Yeah.
ideas that are gifted to us that want to be birthed into the world. And these ideas are like their own entity.
Yeah.
They kind of go, well, honey, if you're not going to pick it up, I'm just going to find somebody else. I'm going to birth through them. So,
That's right.
and like I have so many ideas all the time. I have to be, that's one of my Achilles heels, is I have too many ideas and I want to do them all.
Yeah.
So bright shiny objectitis. So
Yes.
when my husband realized, because I'm a Gemini baby, and I've never been into astrology or anything else, but we kind of did a little bit of discovery work around our star signs. And now my husband just looks at me and goes, "Oh yeah, you're a Gemini." It's like, yeah,
What
there's
is
the
he?
Gemini.
What is he?
He's an Aries. He's a fire
An
sign.
Aries.
So he's
Okay.
solid.
Okay.
Yeah, he's very solid, very grounded. I'm the air
Yeah.
sign. I'm
Yeah.
off flitting off doing all sorts of things.
Yeah. I'm
But
a
yeah,
Virgo, but the Virgo in me is very grounded, but I'm also in human design. I'm a manifester. So it's like, I've got a manifester 1-3, whatever the hell that means. I get so confused about all that stuff. But it's like I get so many ideas, and a lot of times I have to pull myself back from being in a group, because I'll be the one that's like, they'll say, "Well, does anybody have anything to say? Anybody want to say anything?" And I have to start saying, I got to give some other people a chance. So then I'll wait a minute. And if they don't start talking right away, oh, I will.
Yeah, I get it.
Yep. Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's an extraordinary world, and we have so many extraordinary opportunities. And my passion is to help people to really own their power, because we are each and every one of us, we are individually infinitely powerful. We are infinitely powerful beings. We manifested this co-creative reality that is a holographic projection that we are manifesting and co-creating, and moment by moment by moment by moment. That's how powerful we are. That's how powerful each and every person listening to this podcast, you are creating your life moment by moment by moment. Get your head around that and start to create your life deliberately, by design instead of by default. And once you start to realize just the power that you have within you, you realize you are at the mercy of nothing. And that's when life starts to get really cool, because you stop being afraid. We have been indoctrinated and programmed to be afraid. To be afraid of authority, to be afraid of bad things happening, to be afraid of sickness, to be afraid of the neighbor next door, to be afraid of everybody around us. It's like we've been indoctrinated by fear, because when we're in a state of fear, we are saying that there is something that has power over us and that it wants to do bad things to us, and that we're afraid of the world. If you go around being afraid of the world, you will never experience the beauty, the glory, the amazing, the brilliance that there is in this world, that this world has to offer. We live in heaven on earth is here.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Go out in a park and hug a tree.
Yeah.
Watch a flower bloom. See the insects crawling over, a tree.
Mm-hmm.
Watch the intricate way that nature um, just it just is. And that oak tree that starts from a single acorn, it has the imprint of the oak tree in the acorn.
Mm-hmm.
When somebody plants it and provides all the right nutrients and the right and they nurture it and has all the right environment, it can grow over time to this amazing acorn. And that acorn is all it wants to do is fulfill its destiny to become an oak tree.
Yeah.
And that's all it focuses on. And if you come along and you chop that oak tree down, come back in 3 weeks' time and see the little shoots coming back out of that amazing big that trunk.
Yeah.
Because nature is so resilient. And he goes, wow, yeah.
We're starting over now. It'll be something
I
new.
wasn't anticipating that, and that really sucked. I wish I could have seen that coming, because I might have grown somewhere different like 50 years ago, so you wouldn't come and chop me down. But that's life. I'm just going to get on with my what I am focused on, and that is being the oak tree.
Yeah.
Because I still have life within me. And I think it's being that, knowing that we can be that resilient, and knowing that we have these amazing blueprints within us, and that if we just dedicate our lives to being the best version of ourselves, to living out our blueprint, to being these amazing co-creative beings who get to experience the magic that is here on this planet. This planet is magical.
Mm-hmm.
I defy you to prove to me that this planet is not magical. Like, it's magical, man.
Yeah.
This existence is magical. And
Yeah,
what tears me up inside is that so many people in this world, billions of people in the world, never get to experience the magic because they're stuck in their pain and their suffering.
Yeah.
That is a crime. That is a massive crime.
Well, I was telling you about my Facebook group before we got on here. And the thing that we are focused on this month in the Facebook group is the month of April is the month of magic. And so it is every day, everybody has to focus on what's the magic that's happening around them. And I give them an affirmation and a journal prompt, every morning that's something to do with magic, what to look for. And so this morning it was, where do you see magic in the ordinary, mundane things for the day? Something like that. And so one of the shares that I had was I went walking one day not too long ago, and I saw this azalea bush that was beautiful. And I'd seen it before, the vibrant colors and everything. But this time I was focused on magic and what was magic about it. And as I got and I looked a little bit closer, there were these little bees that were going in and out. And then it was almost like they had this, it was almost like to me, it was kind of like a symphony. They were just kind of flooding here, and, they were kind of moving around each other, and it was just beautiful. And so that's what I was sharing this morning, was that, if you're looking for the magic in the world, in your area, in you'll find it. But if you're looking for how hard things are and how people are out to get you and you're just not good enough, those are the things you're going to find. And so this is our month of magic. And I remind them every day that on May 1st, they're going to look back and see how magical April was, because they're already starting to feel it. So it's like what you said, if you're focused on how magical life is and the world is, you're going to see so many things, so many little synchronicities that happen. It's just amazingly beautiful when you pay attention, right?
Oh, it's all about paying attention, and you do get what you focus on. So focus on the bad stuff. You focus on the conflict. You focus on arguing with anybody and everybody about who's right, who's wrong. elections and whatever other catastrophes may be going on in the world. There is a world of pain that is waiting for you if you want to immerse yourself in that.
Oh,
And
yeah.
and just we create these conflicts, and we are kind of co-opted into these conflicts. And I honestly believe that we are in a time where we are being encouraged, inspired, pushed to let go of the fear. Let go of all the fear, because fear has no place in your life.
Yeah.
You might have pause. You might have uncertainty, but don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of your future. Don't be afraid of what's around the corner. Be curious. Be curious as to the unfolding of life. Stop condemning the things that you don't like. Because
Yes.
Byron Katie, what is. If you can continue to condemn it, it causes you pain. Let it go. What's the point? So we create our own pain. Yes, sometimes pain is something that is visited upon us through the things that happen. And that is, like my brother, and I guess this is part of something that shaped me as well, is that when I was 15 years old, my mother took a phone call that completely destroyed her emotionally, because my brother had committed suicide. Now, my brother was 32 at the time. And because he was so much older than me, I had grown up with him without him in the house. I didn't really know my brother. He sort of came to visit once a year, and that was about all I knew of my brother. But my experience of that was not my own personal grief, but was the collective grief of the rest of my family who had known and loved my brother. So that was not something that it was visited upon my family because of the choice of my brother.
Right.
But my mother could have allowed that to completely destroy her mentally and emotionally, or she could find a resilience and a courage within her, and she used her faith, her Catholic faith, to be able to get her through that. And she said, at the time, she said, to be honest, if she had not had her faith, she does not know if she would have survived that.
Yeah.
So we use the tools, the strategies, the mechanisms, the skills that we have to be able to cope with these sometimes very traumatic points of our life. And it's remembering that life is happening for us, not to us.
Definitely.
I don't care if you judge a thing as good or bad. It's happening for you. So what do you do with that? I don't care if it sucks really bad. It still happened for you. Cry, grieve, stamp your feet, have a tantrum, rage at God. But at some point, come back and go, right, it sucks. I wish I'd made a different choice. I wish I hadn't done that. I wish I'd been paying more attention. Whatever it might have been that got you that co-creative experience, what do I do about it now? What do I take from it? What do I learn from it? Who do I become as a result? What do I do with it? I've heard people who've had, terrible physical accidents and experiences. I don't know if you know of a woman called Taria Pitts. So Taria Pitts is an extraordinary woman. She was a beautiful young 20-something woman who was super fit. She was an engineer, so massively intelligent. And she would do something called ultra marathons. And they would go out like into the desert, and they would run for over 100 kilometers in the most brutal conditions. Like, anybody would want to do that to themselves. But she was such a determined woman, and she had career things or whatever. But on this particular ultra marathon that she was on, there was a bushfire nearby, and the authorities did not anticipate that the runners would get caught in the bushfire. So Taria Pitts ended up being, like, if you look her up, her last name is Pitts. She has had over 100 surgeries. She was 3rd-degree burns over 90-something% of her body. She lost more than half of her fingers. They've had to fashion a hand for her. Like, she's just so disfigured. And the pain, the excruciating pain, the stories that when you listen to her stories about the excruciating pain of the healing process for those burns and what she had to endure as a result. Now, I'm not saying that she looks back and goes, oh, I'm really glad that happened to me. That was such a transformational experience. What she says is, I like the person I am today better than the person I was back then as a result.
Right.
So she looks at the benefits that she acquired and the person she became as a result. She's now very much an activist. And you know that the doctor said they've never seen anybody survive those kind of burns. But she was the kind of person who was so determined that she was not going to let it beat her. And things like when she was in rehabilitation and she describes the pain, and it's kind of like, oh my God, I don't even want to hear her explain it. It's so excruciating just to hear her talk about it. But she said when she was rehabilitating and she was learning to walk again and all this stuff, she made it on one flight of stairs in the hospital. And she was so proud of herself. And she said to the doctor, I made it up a flight of stairs today. And the doctor looked at her and I thought, you cruel bastard. But he obviously knew who she was. He looked at her and he went, just one? Tell me when you've done the whole lot, like 8 flights of stairs. And originally it knocked her flat. She was looking for some sort of approval. She'd made progress.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? About a week later, she did the whole damn flight.
Wow. Nice.
That woman is extraordinary. And it's those kind of people who have overcome extraordinary pain, extraordinary adversity, that if I look at the adversity in my life and I go, oh, honey, you got nothing.
Yeah.
It's like, get over yourself. You think you've had shit happen in your life. Remind yourself about Turia Pitt and just get on with it, because that is what we are capable of. If Turia Pitts could do it, thank God, what am I capable of? She's now running. This is where I was going with that. She's running, she's doing triathlons again.
Okay.
Now, this is a woman who was not they never thought she'd survive or walk, let alone now be doing triathlons again. And she's had 2 beautiful children.
Wow.
You know, she was not going to let this stop her from living her life. That's extraordinary. Those kind of people inspire me, uplift me, and remind me of just get over yourself, stop wallowing in your crap, get out there and be the best version of you and go for it. We're not here for a long time.
Right. Yeah, and the older I get, the more I'm aware of that. It's like when you're really young, you think, oh, it's okay. I don't need to do it right now. I got all the time in the world. And as you get older, it's like, shit, it's creeping up on me. I want to live a long time, and I want to live a healthy and active long time, but still a long time from here, not as much as it was way back then, And so, so it becomes so much more precious, even though time is this strange construct, since you're in tomorrow and I'm in today for me, right? So it's just, that still blows my mind, when we were trying to coordinate the times and everything. It's like, what? It's a good thing you're good at that, because I was getting so confused.
I have a lot of clients in the United States, so I'm very used to working with times. And I just think, one thing I want to say about that story, it's like, don't underestimate what you're capable of.
Yeah.
The vast majority, 99.9% of the population, is underestimating what you're capable of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And It's like, whatever it is that you want to achieve, you're capable of it. Just be prepared to take the baby steps to make progress. It's all you need is progress. Whatever you are facing right now, whatever challenges you are facing right now, I don't want to diminish the pain that anybody is experiencing, because there's a lot of pain in the world. And there's a lot of people who are experiencing just a lot of unfair crap, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
And don't lose your ability to dream.
Yeah.
Don't get so caught up in the lack of self-belief, because that's a big thing. The fear of the potential outcome, the fear of the downsides, the fear of what if it doesn't work, the fear of what if I make a fool of myself, the fear of what if
Or what if it does work?
Yeah, exactly. What if it does work? What if I succeed? Holy crap, that's a whole other ball game. And what will people think of me? And all of that stuff that is just this swamp and soup of all the reasons why I can't, I shouldn't, I won't, it's too painful. There's three things that I talk about. It's not safe, I'm not good enough, I don't deserve it.
Yeah.
So they're the three primary things that hold people back. If you start to recognize and realize that you are infinitely powerful, that you are bigger than any challenge that you will ever face, that you have the capacity to overcome any problem or challenge, and there is no problem or challenge that the universe can give you that you cannot solve. None, period. That is not the way this world works. When you start to appreciate that, and you start to back yourself, and you dare to dream, and you just take pleasure in the progress that you make,
Mm-hmm.
and you choose to be resilient, and you learn the lessons from the failures. Failure is just feedback. So you learn the lessons from the failures. Failure is not a terminal illness.
Right.
You failed. And
it's an opportunity to do something different.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What did you learn? It didn't work. And
yeah,
you're still here, honey. Like, it wasn't, unless you're a brain surgeon, a mistake is just a mistake.
Yeah.
If you're a brain surgeon, you don't want to be making mistakes. Or a heart surgeon. Those things can be catastrophic.
Yeah.
But as long as you're not a brain surgeon, just take a shot, man. Take a crack.
Yeah.
I don't care how many lives you think you have. This one is precious. This one is filled with opportunity and possibility that has not been realized by you yet.
Right.
Dare to freaking go all in. Dare to risk failure. Dare to risk looking like an idiot. Dare to risk losing it all and then making it back.
Yeah, definitely.
But if you don't dare to take some level of risk, then you will continue to live this comfortable, mediocre kind of existence. Is that acceptable? I mean, I'm not the person, that's just not acceptable to me. I don't take risks that I'm not willing to bear the potential consequences. But I risk, stretching my comfort zone every day. I risk looking like a fool all the time. I risk failing my way forward. I risk investing something, and if it doesn't work, okay, that sucked. I could have gone on a holiday with that money, but geez, I'll just do something else and find something that works for me.
Yeah.
You know?
Brilliant. Yeah, definitely. And, we're just a touch over time, but we're good. We're good. Okay. So I wanted to just ask you, is there something that I didn't ask you that you really want to let people know, or some thought other, because you were just given some amazing ones. But is there another thought or anything that you really want to leave people with? And so I just wanted to give you the opportunity, because I just intuitively ask questions, like I said, like if we were just sitting in the living room, and getting to know each other. So I may not have asked something that you really wanted to touch on. And I just want to give you the chance to
I think
say
what
something.
I want to leave with people is embrace the knowingness, embrace the belief that you are infinitely powerful. Put your hand on your heart and repeat after me. I am infinitely powerful.
I am infinitely powerful.
I am infinitely powerful.
I am infinitely powerful.
Say it with conviction. I am infinitely powerful.
I am infinitely powerful.
Feel that resonate through every fiber and cell of your being. Feel it connect with the soul of the universe. Feel it connect with who you truly are. Feel it connect to source. This is the remembering. This is the remembering. We're in a time of remembering of who we truly are and where we came from and what we are capable of. And when you plant that seed and you nurture that seed, I am infinitely powerful. You remind yourself every single day, because anything is possible and you are capable of achieving anything that you put your mind to. But it is coming from that place of, I believe in me, no matter where you're at. Your dream is possible. But you have to nurture that seed of belief within yourself. And you have to be willing to overcome the fear, the doubt, the limiting beliefs. And all of that is BS.
Yeah.
It's just BS. Stop believing anything that would prevent you from showing up and being the best and most amazing version of you. And I have to say that you guys in the United States are so much better than that than we are in Australia. It's a very different culture.
Okay.
So uplift each other and look for an environment where you are uplifted, where your belief in yourself, that as a powerful co-creative force who is capable of achieving anything, that is fostered, that is nurtured. Cut the dream stealers out of your life, man, because they will suck you into a big black hole that is very hard to get out of.
Definitely.
So anyway, there's more than one thought, and I could rant on for forever. So,
well, that just means we'll have to do this again, because I've definitely enjoyed the hell out of it. I mean, there's so many places that I want to ask questions and go with it, but it's like we're got this time restraint of an hour. And so I definitely would love to do this again. And I just wanted to say, I have a quote that I leave people with every single time. And it's the quote that you had just a little while ago. And it's written on my computer here, so I always remember to say it. So I'm going to tell everyone goodbye with, the best way to predict the future is create it. So what are you creating? And with that, I say thank you so much, Marguerita, for being here. And I feel so gifted and blessed to have had you on here today.
It's been an honor and a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. And so for everybody else, mwah.